crush Nico Harrison for the reasons that he gave. And when Nico gave those reasonings, everybody said he's ridiculous, he's crazy. But now when I turn on the TV, all I see is everybody in the media who crushed Nico Harrison, who essentially aided in him getting fired, regurgitating the same things that Nico Harrison was saying. And I struggle with that because I haven't seen one person come out and say, hey, Nico, I'm sorry for the things I said about you when you made that move, because I just said the same thing out of my mouth. This has nothing to do with Luka Doncic and everything to do with the me and Nico Harrison. Nico gave his reasonings as the general manager of a team of why he thought that was the right move. And everybody said, you're an idiot. You should be fired.
Okay. Now, in Draymond's defense, we have been talking a lot about Luka Doncic and his ability to close and his ability to lead the Lakers to a championship. So is Draymond Green right, S.A.?
No, he's not. He's very wrong. And he's wrong with his depiction of what people were saying. I think that in this particular instance, Draymond Green is being incredibly unfair. As a person that has his podcast, that's a member of the quote-unquote new media, a phrase he's coined, listen, you're allowed to deduce what you see and come to a conclusion and spew your point of view. That's what he does. This man has a full-time job, getting paid an exorbitant amount of money, deserves every penny. He's a four-time champion, a former Defensive Player of the Year, who will be a Hall of Famer. He has the credentials to say what he says, but in the same breath, be fair about it. The reality of the situation is that Draymond is saying that because he's fond of Nico Harrison. Well, I got news for you. A lot of us are fond of Nico Harrison. Nico Harrison is a great guy. Vinny, Wendy, I know you guys have met him. You guys have spoken to him. Who dislikes Nico Harrison? Who has a negative thing to say about Nico Harrison, the person, or anything like that? Who had a negative thing to say about him prior to the trade? Nobody. He had helped lead the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals and made some deals that were, the Kyrie Irving deal, a PJ Washington, a Daniel Gafford. He did a lot of good moves. I mean, this understandably so. But the Luka Doncic thing stands out. And Draymond Green should know better in terms of when you're talking about highlighting what transpired. The man is unemployed now. Why do you think that is? You think it is an accident? You think there's no correlation? The fact of the matter is that Luka Doncic, for all of his flaws, was a 25-year-old basketball global iconic figure. He wasn't just a great basketball player on the court. He was good for business because of his global appeal. And you let that go. And how do you let it go? It wasn't just that you traded Luka Doncic. You traded him for a dude that was almost 6 years older, that was just as, if not more, injury prone. And by the way, when he arrived, he had a great game, a great half, his opening game, and then obviously got injured. That was the concern. And the real issue, the egregious part about it, which Draymond again should know, and he should know from personal experience, because before the trading deadline, when it was a possibility that he was going to be traded, what did the Golden State Warriors, led under Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr and these boys, actually do? They put feelers out there to see what level of marketability he would generate. That is not what Nico Harrison did. Nico Harrison got on the phone with one dude, which was, Rob Pelinka in the Los Angeles Lakers. And this guy, in an era where we saw a whole bunch of picks received for Kevin Durant by Phoenix, we saw Orlando give up picks for Desmond Bain. We saw 5 first-round picks given up for Mikal Bridges. You had Anthony Davis and Max Christie and a pick to show for Luka Doncic. That was the crime, that you didn't put him on the market and literally see what you could get for him. And I'll end by saying this, guys. If Luka Doncic had been put on the open market by Nico Harrison, can we even sit here and imagine the assets that would have been offered for him? Think about that for a second. That's the issue. And so knowing that and just throwing it at the media and talking about people were talking about him and he's terrible. No, the deal in hindsight appears to be a very terrible deal, but the Mavericks lucked up because they got the #1 pick with the ping pong balls, which was Cooper Flagg. That is what happened. But in the end, There's no regrets here. I can take no joy out of saying anything. It wasn't me that was talking about him that way, by the way, but others who have. I didn't see anybody that hated on Nico Harrison as a person, as an executive, or the job that he did in Dallas overall. They were talking about this one deal, which was egregious and will forever stain him. So much so, it is highly unlikely he will ever get a job as a basketball executive in the NBA again because of this one deal. That's how bad it appears to be. Draymond knows that. He has to know that. So to label it any differently, I respectfully disagree with him.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, I'll give Draymond a pass on defending a man who he thinks is a good man, has good character, and has been very good to him. I'll give him a pass on that.
He's a
You
good
can't
guy.
give him a pass on him blaming the media. And so what I would say is this, the decision to trade Luka Doncic, because one thing you have to remember in the Doncic situation, this is a time and place thing, which is so important when considering trades. You have to consider the time and place. The Mavericks were coming up on a decision about whether to give him a $300 million extension or not. If you don't believe that that player is worth a $300 million extension, and you believe that he has habits that don't ultimately fit with your team, it is not unreasonable to want to trade him. I would not have done that. I would have believed that a 25-year-old that I believe can grow and mature through some of these things. But taking a position like that is not unreasonable. But guys, literally everything else that happened after that decision was made, that's where Nico got fired. The actual basketball decision of moving on from Luka Doncic is controversial, but not indefensible. Everything else, not only the trade itself, as you broke down, Stephen A., but the tack that he took with the fans, the tack that he took with his public statements, including claiming that, you see the vision when they won the lottery. I mean, that was a difficult statement to make under all consideration. And then on top of that, guys, he just got unlucky. He got unlucky because Kyrie Irving tore his knee up a few weeks later. We don't know what would have happened if Kyrie didn't. I don't think they were beating the Thunder last year, but they could have made a run in the playoffs. That team could have done it. And then I'm going to tell you what the nail in the coffin was, and it has nothing to do with the media. I promise you, no matter what. The ownership of the Mavericks had been sold, that they needed to trade Luka Doncic because he was not going to stay in shape, and that as he moved into this $300 million extension, he was going to start to get hurt. And they bought that, and they let him make the trade. Not only did Anthony Davis get hurt immediately, Stephen A., when he came to training camp last fall, he was not in good condition.
Out of shape.
Now, he had had eye surgery. I am not saying that that is an insult to him as a person or a character, but he was not in good condition, and he got hurt immediately. And so the ownership is saying, wait a minute, we traded Luka, and this guy got hurt because he was out of condition immediately. That was the coup de grace. And none of that had anything to do with the media, with all due respect to Draymond.
You know what we always have to be careful about? When someone says everybody, because that's a very broad brush. That is a nice straw man for you to be able to knock down, because you know who it's easy to take shots at? Everybody. Y'all. Let's be realistic and drill down this the way that Wendy and Stephen A. have already. Luka Doncic, my friend Brian Windhorst came on SportsCenter, I believe, with Scott Van Pelt after Game 5 of the NBA Finals. And he pretty much said the words that Nico Harrison said later. He said Luka Doncic behaved like a loser. Nico Harrison believes that, Darko. Ooh, that was bad. That was going to be a messed up thing. He's going to say Luka Doncic was a loser. And if you feel like that this guy's a loser and you can't win with him, then you do what he did. You go about doing what he did. The problem was you traded him to the Los Angeles Lakers, who didn't need a stimulus package. You traded him for Anthony Davis, who's oft injured. You got no draft picks for it. You didn't canvass the league. You didn't call Milwaukee for Giannis. You didn't call Minnesota for Anthony Edwards. You didn't call Oklahoma City for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You didn't call Houston for their treasure trove of draft picks. You did the wrong thing. You did the right thing the wrong way. Even if you believe that that's what he was supposed to do, every branch of that tree was the incorrect move that he made from that point on.
One of the things, and this is what I want to close by saying about Draymond Green. Yes, he's opinionated and all of that stuff, and whatever it is. But I wish him nothing but the best. He's a good brother. This is the thing that bothers me. He is highly, highly intelligent. People that watch him getting emotional in the face of referees and stuff like that, they miss how brilliant of a basketball mind he is. Now, he had to work on his shot. If this brother shot the way he shot in Game 7 the year they lost and let Cleveland come back, from a 3-1 deficit, if this brother in 2016, if he shot like that throughout his career, my God, go